once upon a time, nestled on the edge of a vast, enchanted forest, lived a sweet young girl named Ellie. Everyone in her village knew her by the bright red, hooded cloak she always wore, a gift woven with love by her grandmother. Ellie had long flowing hair that peeked out from under her hood, and her eyes sparkled with the curiosity of 1,000 untold stories. She was kind to every creature, big and small, and the forest itself seemed to sing a gentle melody whenever she passed through it. One sunny morning, Ellie's mother packed a basket with fresh bread, sweet jam, and a bottle of elderflower cordial. "Your grandmother isn't feeling well, my dear," she said, her voice soft with concern. "Please take this basket to her. It will surely lift her spirits. Remember to stay on the path, and don't talk to strangers." Ellie nodded, her heart full of love for her grandmother. She gave her mother a warm hug, lifted the heavy basket, and with a cheerful wave set off on her journey. The little wooden gate clicked shut behind her, and her adventure began. The path to her grandmother's house wound deep into the heart of the magical forest. Sunlight dappled through the canopy of ancient trees, painting shifting patterns on the mossy ground. Birds with feathers like jewels flitted from branch to branch, their songs echoing through the air. Curious squirrels with bushy tails chattered from high above, and gentle deer with soft brown eyes would sometimes peek out from behind the ferns. Ellie hummed a happy tune, her red hood a vibrant splash of color against the rich greens and earthy browns of the woods. The forest was her friend, a place of wonder and delight, and she felt completely at home. But today, something was different. A pair of sharp, intelligent eyes watched her from the deep shadows between the trees. It was a large grey wolf, his movements as silent as the falling leaves. He was not a creature of the village. He was a master of the forest, cunning and patient. He had seen Ellie many times before, but today the scent of the fresh bread in her basket was particularly inviting. He slunk through the undergrowth, a grey phantom keeping pace with the unsuspecting girl, his mind already spinning a clever, wicked plan. The wolf decided it was time to make his move. With a few silent, powerful leaps, he appeared on the path right in front of Ellie, blocking her way. He put on his most charming smile, though it didn't quite reach his hungry eyes. "Good morning, little one," he said, his voice a low, smooth purr. "And where might you be going on such a fine day with such a delicious-smelling basket?" But Ellie, remembering her mother's warning, was a little startled. But the wolf seemed so polite, and his fur looked so soft. She had never been taught to be afraid of the forest's animals. "I'm on my way to my grandmother's house," she replied sweetly. "She lives on the other side of the forest, in a cozy little cottage by the stream. She's not feeling very well, so I'm bringing her some treats to make her feel better." The wolf's ears twitched with interest. "A cozy cottage by the stream, you say? How wonderful!" he exclaimed. "But look at all these beautiful wild flowers. Your grandmother would surely love a bouquet. Why don't you take a little detour and pick some for her? The prettiest ones grow just over there in that sunny meadow." Ellie's face lit up. That was a wonderful idea. Her grandmother adored wildflowers. "Oh, thank you, Mr. Wolf. That's so thoughtful of you," she said with a grateful smile. She stepped off the path and began gathering a colorful bunch of bluebells, daisies, and buttercups, completely forgetting her mother's instructions. The wolf watched her for a moment, a triumphant glint in his eyes. His trick had worked perfectly. As Ellie happily picked her flowers, the wolf turned and raced away, taking the most direct route to the grandmother's cottage. He ran faster than the wind, a grey blur through the trees, his heart pounding with wicked anticipation. He arrived at the little wooden house, panting slightly. It was just as Ellie had described, a charming cottage with smoke curling gently from its stone chimney, nestled beside a babbling stream. The wolf crept up to the wooden door and knocked softly. Tap, tap, tap. From inside, a frail voice called out, "Who is it?" The wolf, a master of mimicry, pitched his voice high to sound just like Ellie. "It's me, grandmother. Ellie, I've brought you some bread and jam to help you feel better." The grandmother, too weak to get out of bed, smiled. "Oh, my dear child, how lovely. The door is unlocked. Just lift the latch and come in." The wolf's grin widened. He lifted the latch, the door creaked open, and he slipped inside. What happened next was swift and silent. A moment later, the cottage was quiet again, but a deep and sinister change had taken place. The wolf rummaged through the grandmother's wardrobe, finding a lacy nightcap and a pair of old-fashioned spectacles. He pulled the cap over his pointy ears, perched the glasses on his long snout, and climbed into the grandmother's bed, pulling the thick quilt right up to his chin. He lay there, perfectly still, waiting. A short while later, Ellie arrived at the cottage, her arms full of wildflowers and her basket on her arms. She knocked on the door. "Grandmother, it's me, Ellie," she called out cheerfully. A strange, gruff voice replied from within. "Lift the latch, my dear, and come in. I'm in bed." Ellie's brow furrowed for a moment. Her grandmother's voice sounded so hoarse, but then she remembered her grandmother was unwell, so she dismissed the thought, lifted the latch, and stepped inside. The cottage was dim, with the curtains drawn. Ellie tiptoed over to the bed where a figure lay bundled under the covers. Only the top of a nightcap and the glint of spectacles were visible. "My grandmother," Ellie began, her voice filled with concern as she drew closer. "What big ears you have." The wolf, trying to keep his voice soft, replied, "All the better to hear you with, my dear." Ellie leaned in a little more. "But, grandmother, what big eyes you have." The wolf's voice grew deeper. "All the better to see you with, my dear." Ellie was now standing right beside the bed, a feeling of unease creeping over her. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. "And grandmother," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly, "what big teeth you have." Ellie screamed, stumbling backward, dropping her basket and the beautiful flowers. But just at that moment, the cottage door burst open with a crash. Standing there was a tall, strong woodsman, his axe held firmly in his hands. He had been chopping wood nearby and had heard Ellie's scream. He saw the terrifying scene in an instant: the frightened girl and the ferocious wolf. Without a moment's hesitation, the brave woodsman charged forward. The wolf, startled and outmatched, knew he was defeated. He yelped in fear, turned, and leaped out of the open window, scrambling back into the forest as fast as he could, never to be seen near the village again. The woodsman rushed to Ellie, who was shaking but unharmed. "Are you all right, little one?" he asked in a kind, reassuring voice. Ellie nodded, tears welling in her eyes. Just then, they heard a muffled sound coming from the large wardrobe in the corner of the room. The woodsman strode over and opened it. There, tied up but safe, was the real grandmother. He quickly untied her, and she hugged Ellie with all her might. "Oh, Ellie, my dear girl, I'm so glad you're safe," she cried. Ellie learned a valuable lesson that day: to always listen to her mother and never to stray from the path or talk to strangers, no matter how charming they may seem. The brave woodsman was hailed as a hero. They all sat down together, sharing the fresh bread and sweet jam from Ellie's basket, their hearts full of relief and gratitude. From that day on, Ellie was a little wiser, but she never lost her love for the forest. She continued to visit her grandmother often, always staying carefully on the path, her red hood a bright symbol of a story that would be told for generations to come. Thank you for watching our story. If you enjoyed it, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more magical fairy tales. See you next time.